Hello everyone and welcome to Book Time with Elvis with me, Mark. I hope you're all doing very well. And today I suppose I have a bit of a rant or complaint, or I would just like something cleared up. And I might get in trouble for this video perhaps. Although I don't see why I should, because I really don't think I'm saying anything offensive or untoward, and it's a genuine query or question that I've got for people out there. And you'll notice by the title of the video, the problem with dead white guys. And this isn't a video saying that dead white guys are a problem. For me, the problem is the phrase, dead white guys being bounded about and all this kind of stuff. And I've noticed a lot on BookTube videos, people apologizing in advance because they've read books by dead male authors. People saying they're not going to read books by dead male authors anymore. And I just don't understand that. I really don't understand it. Maybe I'm missing something, and please explain it to me in a kind way in the comments, because as I said, this is a genuine question. Why do people feel the need to apologize for reading books by dead white authors or dead white men? Honestly, I cannot understand it. And people who makes a conscious decision to not read a book based on the race or gender of the author? I have never made such a decision in my life. I could care less about the sexual orientation, the race, the gender of anybody I read. The fact is, yes, the majority of my reading are books by dead white males. But, I'm a live white male. I come from Europe. Europe has been predominantly white, and the literary scene for hundreds of years, rightly or wrongly, was dominated by men. So a huge bulk of the literature I have access to, or I've grown up with, or is in some ways relatable, obviously not all aspects of it, relatable to me. So why should I feel I have to apologize for reading books that are part of the culture I exist in? Am I closed-minded? No. Will I read books by African authors or Chinese authors? Yes, absolutely. I don't go and pick a book up because it's written by a Chinese lesbian. I don't go and pick a book up because it's written by a gay man. I'm interested in all sorts of culture, all sorts of, ideas, everything. And if you say to me, Mark, I've got this book about a transsexual and their struggles, and it's extremely interesting, read it. And I'll be like, oh yeah, maybe that will be interesting for me. I will read it. Am I going to read it because of that? Because it's written by a transgender person? No. In the same way, I don't pick up Treasure Island because it's written by a dead white man. It's because I really like the story Treasure Island. Does it have problems? Probably it does, although I think Robert Louis Stevenson to some degree was better than most. And I find it, to be honest, I find it quite offensive. And you're probably sitting there going, oh, well, it's all right. He's a white man. He's got white privilege, this kind of stuff. It's another phrase I don't really understand. Yes, of course, perhaps I can't understand it because I have this so-called privilege. But do I? Do I really? I don't know. I cannot see the difference, in not being racist if you choose not to read a book solely because the author happens to be white. Or how are you not sexist because you choose to read a book solely because the author is male? I don't get it. Do non-white people have a monopoly on being victims of racism? I don't know. Obviously I'm not saying that I'm a victim of it at all. I'm not saying that, so please don't jump down my throat. But it does seem that people are implying that white males, dead white males, have a monopoly on being racists. If that's, or being sexist. I don't know. This is a very difficult video to put out, but it's something I feel, I truly don't understand how it's right. I think it's disturbing. I think it's disturbing that anyone would pick up a book and say, I'm not reading this because of the author's ethnicity, race, or gender, or sexual orientation. That's disturbing. You know, to be honest, in an ideal world, all these books maybe should be anonymous. Of course, then we don't know if we like an author and want to go back to it, who it would be. But yeah, I just don't see how it's okay for people to say that. A lot of the times, it's other white men or white women who say it, and it seems perfectly acceptable. But I don't think it is acceptable. I think it's offensive. I would think it was just as offensive if people turned around and said, I'm not going to read books by living black men or living black women or Asian American women, or, that would be offensive as well. And I don't really see the difference. I'm sure people will probably unsubscribe and say, oh, it's outrageous, how can you say something? But really think about it. What have I said that's wrong? And if it does seem wrong to you, it's probably the way you've interpreted it, and I would like you to just ask me to clarify what I said, because I'm not in any way, shape or form racist, sexist, anti-gay, anything like that. I just have a problem with anybody being marginalized or railed against because of their race or their gender. It just seems that it's okay for you to rail against somebody for having been a white man born in Europe prior to 1950. Is it really okay? You might not like their stars, and if you don't want to read it for that reason, that's acceptable. But you don't want to read it because the person happens to have been a man born white in Europe or America before 1950, or whenever you want to put the cutoff point. I don't get it. I mean, the fact that, as I say, Michael K. Vaughan had to apologize in his My 10 Favorite Authors for the fact that all 10 of his authors were white. Brian from Bookish the other day apologized for having chosen dead white guys in his video on short stories. Well, why shouldn't they? If they're not choosing those books because they happen to be written by dead white men. They're choosing those books because they appeal to them. That's the simple thing. There's no nefariousness, I think, in 99% of people's reading choices. Unless you come on to something like BookTube or YouTube and you say, yeah, I'm not reading dead white men anymore. Well, why not? Because it sounds like you're not reading them because they are white men. If you don't like the language, if you don't like some of the phrases they use, it upsets you, which would upset anybody, But as I say, people have to accept that things were different. But you know what it's going to be like, so just don't read it. Don't read it for that reason, not because the author happens to be white and male. I'm not often somebody to come on here and rant and complain, but I really find it upsetting, and I find it I just find it in some respect double standard. You want to be all encompassing and be like, oh, I'm going to read books by other authors of different ethnicities and different genders and sexual orientations. That's great, but why malign another group? Why say, oh, I'm not going to read that book because it's a dead white man? I don't get it. I don't see how it's acceptable. If it was any other sentence to do with anybody's sexual orientation, race, or gender, it would be an outcry, an absolute outcry. I'm not even sure if I'm going to publish this. It's kind of just cathartic for me to record this video. But that's what I think. And as I say, if you can give me a genuine reason why it's okay to say that, why it's okay to not read something purely based on the race or gender of the person who wrote the book, I want to know why. And so please tell me. Thank you for your time, and I'm sorry if I offended anybody, because it certainly was not my intention. It is a genuine query. Take care, everybody. See you next time. Bye bye.